I request Ritu Sona to kindly unmute herself and just on her video.
Is it
So,
visible?
yeah, I request Manisha to kindly keep the stopwatch and start with the timing. Your time starts now, Ritu. You can start.
A very famous personality, Maurice Strong, stated, either we reduce the world's population voluntarily or nature will do this for us, but brutally. A very warm and heartily good afternoon to all of you present here. I am Ritu Sona, going against the motion on the topic growing population of India. Hindrance in progress. India is the second most populous country in the world. Some people think that growing population of India is a worry for its nation. As the Malthusian theory of population by Thomas Robert Malthus states that unchecked population growth without equal agricultural advancement to meet it leads to food shortages. Human population tends to grow at much faster rate with human subsistence like food, clothing, etc. That's why India is forced to live in poverty. Population rises only in geometric progression and agricultural production. Due to this, some Marxists and liberals criticized this theory and stated that there is a disbalance only because of unequal distribution of wealth among the citizens. Almost there are some people who live in posh luxuries, and most of the population is condemned to live in poverty. Although the world population is 500,000 to cover the habitable areas in Earth. In fact, on July 11, 1987, the world crossed 5 billion population, and due to this, the United Nations considered it to be celebrated as World Population Day on General Assembly on July 11, 1989. For example, we can take COVID-19, which is a nature's messenger for us to control the pandemic disbalance, which is contributing a harassment for the population, which is a very great deal for the government. Now, this can be considered as a measure of positive check. Now, I want to give an example of a preventive check. That is, can you understand why countries like Japan and Switzerland are so developed today and India is still in the developing stage? This is due to they take the precautions and measures like delay in marriage, practicing abstinence, or as well as their birth and death rate are too low, as they are taking the measures of perceptive check. Now, at last, I would like to conclude by saying that population can be compared as a positive hindrance in the way of economic development for our country. Hence, the cost and prices rising raise the cost of living of the human beings and the society. The standard of living low, and the masses
Thank you so much,
are
Ritu.
growing.
Your time is over now. Thank you so much, Ritu. Okay. Now I want to invite the next participant. Srishti is not present, I think. Her network is fluctuating. Anushka Sinha. Yes, Anushka, you are visible. I request Manisha to start with the timer. Your time starts now, Anushka. You can start.
Good afternoon, ma'am, and good afternoon, everyone present here. I am Anushka Sinha, and now I'm starting with my topic, population growth in India, a hindrance in progress. So, persons are means as well as ends of economic development. They are an asset if in adequate strength, but prove to be a liability if excess in strength. The population in India has reached the optimum limit and has become a liability. It has led to population explosion. Population explosion is a situation where birth rate is rising and death rate is low, which led to tremendous fall in the economic growth of the country. So the problem of population population explosion in India proved to be a big hindrance in the success of economic planning and progress. Now, there are some of following are the major problems which are caused by the rapid rate of growth of population in India. The first one is problem of investment requirement. Indian population is growing at a rate of 1.8% per year. In order to in order to have a rapid rate of an increase in per capita income, it is required to have a greater investment, which adversely affects the economic growth. The second is problem on food shortage. Okay, so the root cause of food shortage is the rapid rate of growth of population. So, food shortage hampers economic development in two ways. First, people do not get sufficient quantity of food due to the low availability of food resources, which affects their health and productivity. Low productivity causes results in low per capita income and causes poverty. The second one is food shortage obliges developing and underdeveloped countries like India to import food from abroad. A large amount of foreign exchange is spent on a food, and thus the economic development suffers. Okay, so the next point is low standard of living. Population is accountable, growing population is accountable for, is my time over now?
No, you continue. 2 minutes only.
Okay. Okay. So low standard of living. Population growth is accountable for low standard of living for people of India. Even the basic necessities of life are not adequately available. So Dr. Chandesh Shekhar stated that India's population is increasing about 1.06 crores, which and it is required 121 lakh tons of food, 1.9 meter of clothes, 52 lakhs of additional jobs, and 2.5 lakhs of 2.5 lakhs houses to meet the basic requirements of everybody. Then pressure on environment due to population growth.
Stop, Anushka, the time is over now.
Increasing and okay.
Thank you so much, Anushka. Very well spoken with lots of facts. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Now I'll be inviting the next participant over here. We have Nishant Sharma. So Nishant, kindly unmute yourself. Yes.
Can I get a check over my net issues if it's fine? Is my voice clear? Perfect.
Yeah, it is clear. It is coming clear to us and there is no lagging.
All right. So can I start?
Sure. Kindly start.
Perfectly balanced as all things should be. You all might be aware of these lines. If not, then these lines were said by Thanos, one of the greatest villains of MCU, who killed half of the population so that the other half can fight. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nishant, and I stand in front of you all to speak against the motion, growing population of India, helper or hindrance in the progress. I'd like to stress upon the topic where it says growing population, where reports from Oxford and surveys have already proved that India is an overpopulated country and the population is still. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You either call it karma or you call it the Newton's third law. Now, why is this a hindrance to the progress of the nation? Let me explain it to you with the help of an example. Let's take, for example, I have two pots. In one of them, I plant one seed, and in the second, I plant 4 to 5 seeds. I give them the same amount of nutrition as well as the resources. Now, it's quite obvious that the first plant, the first pot, would give me fruits. Why? Because it was the only single one to consume those resources and that nutrition. While the other plant might grow slow or even die because the nutrition and the resources were distributed. Now, why did I plant 4 to 5 seeds in the second pot? Is because I thought getting more fruits from it. Now, this pot, it resembles very much to the poor section of the society, where they would have more than 4 to 5 children, thinking that in future they will get more income resources. What they fail to understand is that they have increased their expenses. They have increased their expenses for the education as well as the nutrition for that family. Now, what happens in future is not more than a death trap, when they in future fail to get jobs because of lack of quality education and lack of quality of education, they fail to get jobs and they further again fall into that debt. Now let's have a look at the aftermath as a nation. The natural resources gets distributed and the results are not productive as they should be. The rate of unemployment increases, whether it be due to lack of quality of education or lack of quality of skill sets. This could trigger to wars and violence among public as we see that people are already fighting for foods and water. And if this goes on and on, it's going to be a disaster. We have the problems, now we need solutions. The population control policy introduced in UP is a very good initiative, I'd say. And the biggest and the best weapon we have to fight this war is awareness and education.
Time over. Thank you so much, Nishant. Okay, so it was really a very good speech with lots of examples and comparisons, we'll say over here. Okay, so now I'll be moving towards the next participant, Divyani Ankush Patil.
Yes, sir. Am I audible and visible?
Yeah, you are audible and visible also, and you can start your speech. Manisha, kindly set the timings. You may start now.
If the world is to save any part of its resources for the future, it must reduce not only consumption but the number of consumers. Hello everyone and good afternoon to all. My name is Devyani Patil and I am going to speak on the topic growing population is hindrance in progress. India's population as per 2019 census is 136.64 crores. We are in the second place in the world population list and as we all know, we will soon become number one, surpassing China. And then again the situation with more mouths to feed than hands to earn. There are now too many people on the planet using too many resources and producing too many risky waste. Human population growth at current levels aggravate all other threats. Its seriousness and preventability are not being addressed in India. Population growth is a key driver of emissions, shortage of food, water and resources, pollution, poverty, biodiversity loss, unemployment and disease emergence and spread. Unemployment badly leads to a vicious circle of the poverty. All this leads to falling economic growth and development of the country. India's population is increasing at an alarming rate. The greatest threat to the human existence is our own lack of ability to control our own growth. Overpopulation leads to overexploitation. Exploitation of natural resources has led to environmental degradation. As Morris Strong firmly said, either we reduce world's population voluntarily or nature will do this for us but brutally. The human overpopulation issue is the topic I see as the most vital to solve if our children and grandchildren is to have a good quality of life. These are some of the major problems faced due to overpopulation. Therefore, growing population of India is not speeding up the progress, but instead pulling us back and posing a big hindrance in our country's progress. The government should give attention to the issue and work towards controlling population. The young population also need to give our attention to the issue and spread awareness about the topic. So today, on the World Population Day, let us pledge to effectively control population explosion through family planning for a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Divyani. Now I'll be moving towards the next participant, that is Rimjim Sahu.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you can start your speech.
Okay. So, आबादी पर करो नियंत्रण, तरक्की को दो आमंत्रण, जनसंख्या पर रोक लगाओ और देश का विकास बढ़ाओ. Good morning, I'm Rimjim Sahu and today I'll be speaking against the population growth. Okay, so I want you to imagine a bacteria that multiplies itself very rapidly. So it goes from 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16 and so on. So now this particular bacteria is filled in a test tube and there is a sufficient amount of food for its existence. But now as bacteria is rapidly itself, very soon this whole test tube is filled with this bacteria and there is no food remaining for its existence. This is exactly how the population growth is working. The overpopulation is a very, very serious problem with very serious consequences. I would like to start off by getting on the problem of resources. as we all know that the resources we have are very scarce in nature, and as the population is growing, there is 4 more new people in every second who is ready to consume all these resources. This eventually leads to unequal distribution of resources in our society, which eventually creates disparities. The rich people are getting more richer, and the poor had to toil hard even for the necessities. And when we talk about resources, our most important resources, our planet, is the air we breathe in, the water we consume, our atmosphere. But we have seen that our human race has not been very kind to our nature. We are not only exhausting our resources, but we are also polluting our resources, our planet, and which eventually leads to many problems like environmental degradation, climate change. We are reading every day in our newspaper how rapidly our glaciers are melting. So either directly or indirectly, this problem of overpopulation is leading to our environmental degradation. Okay, now I know that many people here will say that as population grows, number of minds are also growing. But what people don't see is, as the number of minds are growing, the number of stomachs that needed to be filled are also growing. And people are already dying of hunger. People are living in extreme poverty. Many people don't even get their basic education, basic health, and they remain unskilled for the whole life. And it is very, very necessary to note that only skilled population can be proved as an asset for our country. The other section of the society will always be liability to any country or any nation. Even if the government of a country decides to help their economically backward and poor section, this population growth becomes an hindrance here also. Because if the government takes any initiative or any welfare scheme or distribute any allowance, by the time it reaches the target group, there is no benefit of that, because that allowance is being distributed among millions of people. So eventually nobody is benefited by that, and it leads to people blaming their own country, blaming their own leaders, blaming their own government. And I think that it's a very big hindrance of population growth, is because when people are blaming their country.
Thank you so much, Rimjim. Your time is over.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So really a very good speech by Rimjim. Right, now I'll be moving towards the next round, that is additional ideas, analysis, and personal observation of the participants on your topic. So quickly inviting the first participant again, Ritu. Ritu, kindly unmute yourself and start your personal analysis for 1 minute.
India's population is increasing at an alarming rate day by day, and I totally agree to it. An increase in population growth would necessitate an investment in the development of less desirable areas on Earth to meet space need demands. But government needs to check the economic status of a country to safeguard its resources and also for a sustainable environment among the country. Thus, the consequence of population growth is to lower the standard of living day by day and must be checked by the government for proper conservation and control to this overpopulation disease.
All right, thank you, Ritu.
Thank you.
Now I'll be moving towards the other participant. Okay, so it's Anushka. Kindly, Anushka, unmute yourself and start.
Okay, so India's population is growing at a very rapid rate, and it will surpass China by 2025. So according to me, government should take some measures like promoting family planning. People should be encouraged to have only one child after marriage, then making studies and making things like education entertaining, like students from the school age should be taught that population should be controlled and preventive measures should be taken to control the population. Then government should take some incentives to which people should be encouraged and have only one child. Then one child legislation should also be passed that will allow only one child after marriage. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Rimjim. Now I'll be coming on the next participant, Nishant.
Right.
Kindly start.
Can I start?
Yes.
So as in my speech also, I stated that awareness is the biggest weapon that we have. I agree with the policies that the government has introduced. But let's give it a thought for once, that why do we need the government, why do we need people to stand on our heads and tell us what to do? I believe education and knowledge is the biggest thing that we can have. It is not only for the, I'd say, poor section of the society, but it is because of the people who are unaware. If I look back to my family background, I see I have around 6 to 7 relatives. Like 6 to 7 relatives, like we get the point that we are not from a poor family. But then when I ask them, they say that they were unaware at that point. It is not only the resources that are getting affected, it is also the health of the people. It is the quality of life that is getting. And I believe that the government plans should be there, because in a country where people, after facing the second COVID phase, people are still there down at Uttarakhand
Thank you so much, Nishant. The time is over. Moving on to the next participant, I'll be moving towards Divyani. Divyani, kindly start.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Rising population increases poverty in India. People have to spend a large portion of their resources for bringing up their wards. It results into less saving and low rate of capital formation. Hence, improvement in production technique becomes impossible. I would also like to state that some people are saying that it also affects the human resource development and increase of population helps in progress of India. But how does it help? Because the population which is now working will turn into dependency ratio after a decade. So how can you say that this working population will now will be helpful? This population will be only helpful for the decade and after not that. So there should be many resources and many studies and research should be made that how family planning should be put up. And also we welcome the idea of UP's Uttar Pradesh CM of two-child policy. Many states should take up policies and implement them, and also make research.
Thank you so much, Divyani. Your time is over. Last participant, Rimjim. Rimjim, kindly start with your personal analysis round.
Okay. So as I said before in my speech, population growth is surely an hindrance in any country's development or growth. As it's live example before our eyes. In this coronavirus situation, the big reason why our country is not corona-free still is our overpopulation, because the vaccines are not able to reach every single person on this in our country. So it is a very big reason, and by looking over that, it's a really high time that we do something about it. Education and family planning is a really important matter of subject here, because of family planning, it's a really important policy that should be introduced. And obviously the UP's policy is a really great initiative, and every state should look over it and implement such things in their states also. And education and awareness is also a big weapon which can be used to fight with this problem. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's great, Rimjim. Thank you so much. So with this, we are completed with our slot 3, and all the participants are done. We could not see Srishti over here. Ma'am, Srishti is facing some issues in her device or the place where she is. So she'll be sending a video to us and we'll be presenting at the last. So ma'am, with this, we are finished up with the slot number 3.
Right. All right, Dikshan.
And thank you so much, each and every participant who spoke up. And you were really very awesome. And let's hope that you come up with other more ideas for the future debates. Keep going. And thank you so much. You all can leave the session. All right, Arshia, you can start with your speech. Your time starts now. Manisha, kindly note the time.
Diversity and population go handily with each other. If there is diversity, there has to be population. A very warm good afternoon to jury members and all other fellow participants. Today, I, Arshia, is going to speak in the favor of the topic, growing population is a helper in progress. From decades, growing population has been a hot topic for discussion. Since there are many pros and cons for growing population, I feel like growing population is somehow beneficial in a country like India. People often talk about how growing population is hindering the society by limiting the resources, but they never think about how it affects economic growth, industries, medical and agricultural innovations, etc. in a good way. Ma'am, if we see if we see some ethical issues, India is the only country that has Hindu community compared to that of whole globe. But now the number of people of a particular community are decreasing. So we need more people from particular community, that is our Hindu community. India is known for its culture and diversity. So we need more communities to save our diversities. I feel if we see an aspect of economy, population plays a vital role in enhancing economy of a world, since more number of growing population would lead to increasing the above increasing the per capita income of the country. So now it's time to look at the other side of the coin. It's time to look at the other side of coin. Population can be helpful for a country like India. It depends on us how we take it. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.
Okay, so thank you so much, Arshia. Now I'll be moving towards Shreya. Kindly start with your speech.
Am I visible?
Yes, you are visible, Shreya, and audible also. Kindly start.
Already. Okay. We control the growth of every species except our own. A very splendid good afternoon to everyone present here. Today I'm Shreya Bharadwaj and I'm here to raise the motion against the topic. As I see, growing population of India is a definitely hindrance for the government and for the growth of India as a whole. The economy is also affected. As talking about the current affairs, Mr. Yogi Adityanath, the CM of Uttar Pradesh, has released a draft for the bill considering two-child policy. Before we talk about the benefits of the policy, I would like to raise the concern about the policy. Why do we need it? What is the need? Observing today World Population Day, it says the urgency to control the population. According, if we consider the census of 2001, it says there's an urgent need to control the population. If we consider the census of 2011, it clearly states the population of India is 1,210 crores 433,333. If we consider all these stats, we get to know that there's an urgent need to control the population of India. Government is giving certain benefits to the people of Uttar Pradesh, and the people who will abide to it will certainly be benefited. While if we talk on a global level, South Korea is a developed nation, and 90% of the people in South Korea are not willing to have kids. What is the reason they're not willing to have kids? The reason behind is the cost of living in South Korea is extremely high, and the people believe they cannot afford the average lifestyle they need to provide to a kid or a child. If we talk about India, the living expenses in India is also rising. If we see the expenditure, the budget of the government, it is continuously rising. We get to know that parenting is not only about providing food to the kid. It is much more than that. Mentally, physically, emotionally, you need to be available for the child. Whereas I believe unemployment is one of the major outcomes of overpopulation. If we consider the survey of 2016, around 6,300 people arrived for a government exam, out of which only 40% were liable to give the exam. Now it's extempore, I guess. As an extempore, in my opinion, I will suggest as a teenager, I'm helping to cut off this overpopulation situation by educating women especially. I am connected with a NGO which provides education to women and delivers a kind of speech and awareness among the women about reproductive health, about the intercourse and the awareness to use contraceptives while intercourse. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Shreya. Although this extempore, like your personal opinion was to be done after the speech, but chalo, when your turn will come, then you can speak again. Okay, now coming on the next, Somili.
Yes.
Yes, Somili, kindly start.
Yeah. So
So, tell me, where do we get ideas, innovations, productivity, talent, and labor from? It is the human brain and the human mind. So, population as a human resource for this large country and huge economy can definitely prove to be beneficial. There are other implications as well. Firstly, APJ Abdul Kalam and Swami Vivekananda always favored the population and the youth population. Increasing population means that the youth age is increasing, which means, and our youth, we should be lucky that our youth is extremely tech savvy and believes in community development, which was evident during the COVID times, how they worked relentlessly to provide COVID resources to the patients. Secondly, India is dominating the Silicon Valley by CEOs, which proves our potential talent. Secondly, a report by Korn Ferry states that by 2030, almost all global economies are going to face a global talent crunch, except India. That time, India can even provide to the global economy, and also the large investors can come to India and invest in the huge population. Along with that, we also see, thirdly, the population is often used as an excuse to not invest in different resources. And along with that, as an excuse for unemployment. And it's said that we do not have the capital. But is it actually so? The ground reality says that only 1% of the population has around 58% of the resources. So it is just that the population, capital is unequally distributed, and also it is incorrectly invested in certain sectors which do not lead to skill development. We already saw how the population is beneficial, that youth is talented, and even Indian youth is very much productive, which reports show that they work for around 48 hours a week. This shows that if the population can be used to the utmost, we can go to a different level of development. Along with that, increasing population also helps in the democracy of the country, and also the balancing the sex ratio and maintaining the different diversity of the religion and different regions. And imagine, for such a large country, if the population does not increase and grow, then the old population will increase, which will lead to and then no army will be there, no production, and agriculture will be present, and then there will be an increase in the amount of the basic goods, the money of the basic goods, and the income and expenditure is also going to increase, which will further dwindle the economy. That's why it is time that we stop cribbing about the population and start thinking in a better way and using our population to the utmost. Thank you.
Very well spoken, on the perfect time. Thank you so much. Now moving on the next participant, I'll be coming on RN Mittal. RN Mittal, unmute yourself.
Okay. People say that finite world has finite resources, but what if I say that finite world, neither resources are finite nor is a world? Respected jury and my fellow mates, my name is RN Mittal, and I'm here to address for the motion about the growing population of India as a proponent of success. Now, I would like to do something different. I would like to kill two birds with one arrow by countering some of the stances which my opponent proposed, as well as endorsing my opinions. First of all, which I most commonly hear is population of India is reason for halt in development. So India does not have much capital. We have to understand that. But one thing India is sufficient at, it is labor. Look at Britain. During its colonial phase, it has successfully outsourced most of its labor-intensive work to colonized nations such as India, Fiji, etc. Dutch too with Indonesia, and French with Northwest Africa. And we have to see that labor was a big component for their success, although it was not ethical for them to do so. But we have to understand the facts here too. Second thing which I most commonly hear is, and I think it's the biggest arrow in the quiver of my opponents, is that more population, less resources theory. Now, we have to understand that humans are very smart, and time by time, they have proved that they are capable of many things and development at a fast pace. So I would like to give an example to prove my point. For example, power. Power is a very crucial element for the success in developing as well as developed nations. Till a few decades back, countries were using only coal as well as petroleum as their power source. But recently, we have developed technology to harness solar energy as well as hydroelectric energy through dams, which obviously Jawaharlal Nehru called it a modern temples of modern India. And we have seen that they have invented technology so we can harness new resources and be more efficient in that. Third point, which I see my opponent saying, is two-child policy, and I think it's just plain ridiculousness of the policy. Let me explain how. India is a nation of youth, and according to Ministry of Statistics as well as program implementation, India has approximately 19.1% of its population ranged between 15 to 24 years of age. Now, this is a very hardworking population which can be very efficiently used. But by the help of two-child policy, it would be a disaster as our working population would decrease and the dependent population, such as the old persons as well as the children, would drastically increase, which would obviously.
Thank you so much, Aryan. Your time is over.
Okay.
All right. So now I'll be moving towards the other participant, Manvi.
It is better to debate a question without settling it than to settle a question without debating it. Good morning, the jury members, the organizers, and my fellow mates. I am Manvi, and I would like to thank the organizers who gave me the opportunity to speak. I'm about to speak in favor of the motion. A population in India, a hindrance or progress. Population growth refers to the increase in the number of people in the population. According to the Global Human Population Survey, the increase in population amounts to 83 million per year or 1.1% per annum. The opponents of population growth have argued that the population growth leads to decrease of resources and more stress on resources. On the other side, Danish economist Easter Boser argues that population growth drives the economy to work further and innovate further. For example, to better serve the masses. For example, during 1966, during the agricultural revolutions, high-yielding variety seeds were produced to better serve the masses and to increase agricultural production. Higher population also implies that more people are working and innovating further. For example, in Shenzhen, China is the best example where population growth works parallelly with the economic growth. Increase in population also means that there is a decrease in mortality rate among pregnant women, children, and infants. According to data, the number of people between the age 0 to 18 has remained constant since year 2000, but still the population is increasing. What may be the reason? The reason is people are living longer due to increase in and due to improvement in medical science. More children being born will also increase the workforce in the long run, and with more population, extra demand will be generated, and with extra demand, extra investment, and with extra investment, more profit will be generated to the economy, and new technologies may also be developed. It also leads to innovation and self-development of the minority culture who strives to cope up, who strives to be with the majority culture. In the conclusion part, I would like to conclude by jotting down all the points I said above about the progress I can see in the growing population. The major benefits of the population growth are it leads to innovation in society, it leads to more workforce and employment, and it leads to low mortality rate due to improvement in medical science. It leads to increase in demand and investment, and increase in tax base due to more number of young people and development of minority.
Thank you so much, Manvi. Your time is over.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll be moving towards the next participant over here. Next is over here, Vrinda.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and the honorable judges. My name is Vrinda Mittal, and I believe that population growth is a serious hindrance in the economic growth of a nation like India. India's population is rising day by day. In fact, India counts to 18% of the total world population. Population growth has serious impacts on every aspect of human life, which is physical, social, economic, psychological, and whatnot. According to WHO, population growth will have serious repercussions on developing nations like India, which, unlike developed nations, are not properly equipped with infrastructure and technology to combat the issue. My fellow opponents are failing to realize that overpopulation is a parasite which has already started to attack the middle class and the poor. Overpopulation is something that is favoring the capitalism. We all have seen slums while walking, traveling, or just running or doing some exercise, but have we ever given a conscious thought to decipher why a majority of India's population is still living under slums? Around 6.5 crore Indian people live in slums, whereas this proportion of population is negligible or almost very little in developed countries like US and Australia. Well, the answer is overpopulation. Why? Because overpopulation leads to high land density, the high population density, which leads to overpopulation leads to high land density, which leads to increase in the prices of the lands and ultimately forcing the poor to live in the slums. Another aspect is that almost each one of us is worried with the increasing prices of the essential commodities. But do we know the reason behind it? It is overpopulation. Overpopulation gives rise to inflationary tendencies. Why? Because overpopulation creates more demand, which is more than the supply. Hence, overpopulation has to do with everything from poverty to environmental degradation to hindrance in international trade. Hence, it is high time that my opponents realize that overpopulation is a termite where mankind is a wood which is getting rotten. Hence, we think that the problem is healthcare. We think problem is infrastructure. We think that the problem is economic growth. No, the problem is population. I would like to repeat: the problem is population. There is no other problem.
All right, thank you so much, Vrinda. Now I'll be moving towards the another participant, Akanksh.
Okay, shall I start?
Yes.
Good afternoon, one and all present here. Respected members of the jury and my dear fellow mates. I, Akansh Kumar, BTech first year student, am going to speak against the motion. My topic is growing population of India, hindrance in progress. Persons are means as well as ends of economic development. They are an asset if in adequate strength and prove to be a liability if excess in strength. Population has crossed the optimum limit in India and has become a liability. So problem of population explosion has proved to be a big hindrance in the success of economic planning and development. The Prime Minister addressed the nation on account of Independence Day in 2019 and said, increasing population is a problem for us and our next generation. And there was a need for the center as well as the state governments to launch schemes to tackle it. In June 2021, the Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma made headlines for his statements on measures for population control in the state. He announced that be it loan waiver or other government schemes, population norms will be taken into account in the future as eligibility for government benefits. Following the above footsteps, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath will today launch the Uttar Pradesh Population Policy 2021-2030 on the occasion of World Population Day. The Uttar Pradesh State Law Commission has prepared a proposed draft bill for population control, under which a two-child norm will be implemented and promoted. After the law comes into force, a person with more than 2 children will be debarred from several benefits such as government-sponsored welfare schemes and from contesting elections. Ration card units will be limited to only 4 persons. As we can see, the government of different states have started taking the initiative to control the population explosion. The major effects of such population explosion are large size of population results in large army of labor force, but due to shortage of capital resources, it becomes difficult to provide gainful employment to the entire working population. That is the problem of unemployment. Rapid growth of population accounts for the low standard of living in India. Even the bare necessities of life are not available adequately. Rising population increases poverty in India. People have to spend a large portion of their resources for bringing up of their wards. It results into less saving and low rate of capital formation. Therefore, to coming to the conclusion, briefly speaking, population explosion hinders the economic development and it should be controlled effectively, or it might have adverse effect in the upcoming times. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Akanksh. Very perfectly on the time. Now I'll be inviting the next participant, Gauri Sunil Kulkarni. Speech. You can start with your
Respected
speech.
judges and my dear friends, good afternoon to one and all. Philosopher Edward de Bono says that creativity is one of the most important assets that we as humans have, because without creativity, there would be no progress. Thus, human resource with creativity is the ultimate resource. I am Gauri Kulkarni, and today I am going to speak exactly on this topic, that human resource, in particular, growing population of India is a helper in progress. We all know that land, water, minerals do not become useful on their own. It is we humans who turn them into resources. Therefore, human capital is at most important. And we as Indians are very fortunate, as India has one of the youngest populations in an aging world. We have the maximum advantage of demographic dividend. Today, our population stands at 136.64 crores, and this is a huge number. This large and growing population, which is very highly skilled and qualified, is an asset for an economy and not a liability. It enables us to be a major producer and exporter of goods and services, which gives us a very high GDP. We have innumerable service providers, and thus we do not need to import services from outside as other countries have to do. This diverse population with people from different cultures, backgrounds, with different creativity, innovative skills have helped India to become one of the most influential powers today. We must also not forget that India is the largest consumer market in the world today, and the efficient workforce attracts investors from outside to set up operations in India. Thus, this is clearly obvious that such a large and growing population is an asset for an economy and not a liability. It is helping and boosting our economic growth. As we have more young population, more hands to earn, more our economy will grow. As people point out to the issue that there are many issues of overpopulation, such as feeding this overpopulation. So let me tell friends that studies clearly tell us that Indian agriculture has the capacity to produce 10 times the current rate if proper technology is made available to the farmers. Thus, our lands do have the capacity to feed this growing population. Now, what is necessary is to educate this population, to educate this human resource, to make it most of our population. Attention needs to be given for improving the health and education of our population. We know that since 2018, the youngest population has overpowered the dependent population, and this is a huge asset for us. We have a huge young population with innovative skills, and now what is necessary is to provide a healthy, educated youth force for the future. Skills, learning opportunities, vocational training should be increased. Attention should be given to health. And once these efforts go in the right direction, our country will be the largest country with the largest manpower. And once this human resource is utilized in a proper way, India will reach to heights we can't even imagine. Therefore, I strongly believe that this growing population of our country is a clear helper in progress. And therefore, we must focus on human resource development first, as when once human capital is built, everything else is achievable. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Gauri. Very perfectly on the time. Now we'll be starting with the next round very quickly, as 10 minutes are only left. So we'll be very quick over here. Starting with RN Mittal. Please unmute yourself and in 1 minute, kindly express your personal views on this topic fastly. RN Mittal.
Before preparing for this topic, I thought overpopulation topic is as proponent as a rape. Like rape can never be justified. As such, overpopulation can also never be justified. But then Dikshant asked me to speak for the motion. So I started digging up some facts and some resources. I read up articles. I read up some websites on mysteries, and then I got to know that I think population of India is one of the biggest assets that we have, and which will take us to development if it is properly channelized by our government. Government has to learn from many countries who have properly done so, such as China. China has successfully shown that their population is has been a powerful asset, which has been very helpful for their progress, as well as Indian politicians now.
All right, your time is over, Aryan. Now I'll be moving towards the next participant, Manvi. Manvi, kindly unmute yourself and start.
My personal analysis on how population growth can be helpful. In my opinion, countries that have high population should also have great medical facilities, social improvement policies, and great economic policies to work with the high population. And with large population, nations can use the entire population or the population for its good, for improvement of social infrastructure, and into armed forces for better protection of the country, and to benefit with high population countries with declining population. For example, Japan has the highest number of people under the more than age of 60, which is the bad indicator because people are having less children. And according to data, with the doubling of population, GDP has increased by 2/3 proportion, which is a great indicator. Thank you.
All right. Now I'll be coming on the next participant. Now next is Arshia. Arshia, kindly start with your 1 minute analysis round.
Okay. Honestly, being an Indian and a Hindu, I would justify my point by saying that our community is facing minority issues. According to Globe, we may be in majority in our country, but what about the nation around the world? I feel like our culture is a heritage, and it's our responsibility to save just not our culture and our country. We have to save whole globe. If we see today many other communities are taking over us to wake up, taking over us. So now it's time to wake up and save our heritage. I'm not pointing just about any particular community. I'm just getting on my point, and I'm just talking
Thank you so much, Arshia. Your time is over. Now I'll be moving towards the next participant over here, Somili. Somili, kindly start.
Yeah, so for this population, thing, I would like to compare it with the COVID-19. COVID-19, we lacked a lot of things, but we had technology. We had this online source. We used this online source to do, I don't know how much wonders. So definitely, if we lack in us, three things are very important: land, capital, and labor. So if land and capital is somewhere missing, we can actually use the labor, just like online education, and we can do wonders. And see, India has youth, and if youth can be channelized properly, they can. Even if AI takes over, youth has the capability to change and adapt to change. Along with that, they can even use the renewable energy resources and also create employment through startups. So I feel that it is very important that we see as a positive aspect and rather than a negative aspect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Somili. Now we'll be moving towards the next participant, Shreya. Kindly start.
Am I visible?
Kindly start.
All right. The draft has come out for UP government's policy, and the leaders from other religion are saying that we're triggering their religion. No, it's not. The root cause is awareness and education. Government is doing what needs to be done, but as members of millennial community, Z generation, we need to do what we can do. As a part of an NGO, what I know is we are educating women from rural areas, making them aware about reproductive health, making them aware about the concept of contraceptives, which are very important. In addition to it, former leader Atal Bihari Vajpayee's policy of making education compulsory till grade 12 was a great move to lower down the overpopulation problem. The overpopulation problem in India began in late 90s Whereas today we need to concern about the population growth in rural areas is most prevalent. Whereas people think that if there will be more
Thank you so
hands
much,
to
Shreya.
earn.
Your time is over.
All right.
Brinda Mittal, kindly start.
Okay, so I would like to point out one thing that Soumili said. In this COVID-19 scenario, both Britain and India started their vaccination at the almost same times, and now Britain is fully vaccinated. But in India, majority of the population is still struggling to get the first vaccine done. Why? This is because of overpopulation. Another thing I would like to point out is that this year's theme is impact of COVID-19 on fertility, and one thing which impacts the fertility rates, which increases the fertility rates, is the fertility clinic thing. They manipulate psychologically people that what is born out of your body is only yours, but this is not the essence of being a human. What can be yours is anything. Like I can just make anybody mine, and it is not necessary that what is born out of my body is yours, and this is one thing which is contributing to overpopulation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brinda. Now I'll be moving towards the next participant, Akanksh. Akanksh, kindly start.
I start?
Yeah.
My personal analysis on population exposure. High birth rate and low expectancy of life means large number of dependents in the total population. In India, 35% of the population is composed of persons less than 14 years of age. Most of these people depend on others and are unproductive consumers. In 2001, working population was 39.2%, whereas 60.8% were unproductive workers. Can we just think of it? Indian population is growing at a faster rate of 2.25% per annum, which is a matter of grave concern. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I'll be moving towards Gauri. Gauri, kindly start.
Yes, so my personal opinion is that, yes, our growing population is a helper in progress. Now, according to statistics, we all know that India is going to have this advantage of highest demographic dividend till the end of 2055. So for the next 3 decades, we are going to have this extraordinary chance of having the largest youth power. Youth means innovation, innovative minds. And thus, this youth population, when used in a proper manner, will prove for us Indians have a competitive edge over other countries, where most of the countries are now having populations which are aging, which are going towards dependent ratio. We will have the extraordinary opportunity of having youth. So I think that yes, this youth population will be a helper in our progress. Recently, I had read an Asian Economics Research Director's views on this population explosion. So he said that India's situation now is close to ideal demography. Like we are in a sweet state now where we have youth, and youth will obviously help in boosting the economic growth of our country when used in a proper manner. So yes, I feel that population growing in our country, it will be a helper in progress.
Gauri. Your time is over. Thank you so much. With this, we are finished up with our slot number 4.